All right, guys. So I'm catching up on the Breasia murder trial with Henry Dinkins. Okay, pork chop. And it was said that he was a sex offender. Okay. Now, I'm trying to catch the trial because I just heard about this case, yesterday? So I'm watching all hours of the trial. And I was looking at the police testify. The mama testified. And by the way, I got a very long video that I did on this. Uploaded it, but at that time I had not looked him up just yet. Because I had not heard it come from anyone official that he was a offender, right? Just talking the streets. So as I'm watching this, I look it up. Now, I go in depth in this in my longer video, guys. It's gonna take a while for that video to go up, but I'm going over the testimony of the mother, and the girlfriend, and the grandma should all be charged as well. These laws need to change on that. They should be held responsible for that little girl's murder because they handed her up on a silver platter. Breasia Terrell. Okay? I'm assuming things happened to them and nobody protected them. Okay? I'm assuming they came from a certain lifestyle. However, none of it excuses them handing this girl over. Okay? If there is not a law, and there should be a law, then we need to push for that law to be in existence. There should be a law that convicts anyone of a felony who knowingly enables a sex offender to be around children, that they can do something about it. Tell, keep the children away, any of that. Now, Breasia's mother got with him when she was 18. She said he told her he was 21, but he was 19 years older than her. You do the math. She knew he was scum. She testified that she hadn't seen him in a long time since he got locked up the last time. He is a career criminal. Now, in the trial, they said he had recently Googled underage black girls for blah, 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 you fill in the blank. Okay? There's no doubt that he's responsible for this young lady no longer being here. Okay? So, let's look at Court TV's records of him. Now, Dinkins was jailed days after Breasia went missing for violating offender registry requirements. Now, in case y'all haven't watched the trial, in case y'all haven't watched the body cams, the police kept asking him what was his address. When he showed up, that man said he didn't know. They asked him in interrogation what was his address. He said he didn't know. How does an adult not know his address? They should have had his address because he should have been registered. He got arrested after she went missing because they found out that he was an offender and he failed to register. Okay? It's right here in black and white. If you are an offender, guess what? You are not supposed to be around minors. Could he have gotten some special permission under certain circumstances to be around his own son? I guess. But you and I both know he did not have that. He definitely wasn't supposed to be around Breasia. He went over there and picked those children up by himself. Okay? Now, before we go look at his registry, let's continue reading. It says Dinkins was convicted in 1990 at the age of 17 of the third degree, look it up, assault of a girl under the age of 13. Dinkins remained jailed. Now, this is technically how they word it. This little girl could have been any age. Somebody said she was 5. I don't know. Dinkins remained jailed for several months during a search for Breasia. Then on March 22nd, 2 fishermen came upon human remains in a secluded pond on a private land, about 25 miles north of Davenport in rural Clinton County. An autopsy positively identified the remains to be those of Breasia. The medical examiner testified that Breasia's reason of death was homicide caused by multiple gunshot wounds. And of course, Dinkins opted for a bench trial, placing his fate in the hands of a singular judge, who we know is still deliberating. It's going to take him some time. He's not an entire jury. Okay, I thought I had y'all on pause, but whatever. It says the site does not display the entire list of registrants in Iowa. Okay, some of these guys don't register or update or check in or whatever. Here he is, 16 aliases. There's his registrant number. You can print this. They have photos of him. I think he's supposed to take a photo ever so often to keep it updated with how he looks. He's about 5'9". Same height as me. 270 pounds. So they say. And I'm sure a lot bigger now. 51 years old. Now, what does it say he has 3 birth dates? That sounds about right, though. Look at the scars, marks, and tattoos. This was the last address updated for him as of August the 7th of this year. You see that address? Scott County Jail in Davenport, Iowa. Okay? Now, let's go back up to his aliases. E. Earl, Hank, Vince, Harris. 16 items on 2 pages. So he pulled that around a little bit, I guess. Like, did variations of those names. So he's listed his birth as August the 2nd twice, with a 1971 and a 1972 year. And August the 7th, 1972. So he spent his birthday in prison. Shout out to him. Happy belated birthday to you, Fat Nasty. And it says the only one that's accurate is 8272. Okay? Now, here's his restrictions. This is where I have a problem with some of these parents. Any dude you dealing with, you need to do a background on him. You want to make sure he's not a murderer, a thief, domestic violence, And of course, he's not on one of these registries. She know what he been going to jail for. I'm sure he told her some last story. There's no excuse. Ladies, we got our own groups around here. So we, share. Well, I ain't gonna say we, because I don't deal with dudes like that. So, but whatever. However, you still need to check a dude out. But you'd be surprised how many times a woman posts a dude in a group, and so many women show up and tell you about his behind. Okay? He's a tier 3. He's supposed to have quarterly reviews. Now, let's go to tier 3. Pardon me, y'all. Let me chew first. So it says here the tier levels are based only on the offense or offenses for which the person is currently registered, and are used only to establish how many times each year a registered offender is required to report in person to their sheriff's office and verify registration information. 1, offenders are required to verify their information every year. 2, level 2, every 6 months, and level 3, every 3 months. This dude was supposed to check in every 3 months. Okay? And it goes on, they have some more disclaimers. We're going to pass that right now. And it has other information. There's no way you should know exactly what's going on with a dude if you find him on the registry. Should he be around your child? Look at all these questions that you can click on and get answers to. Are there penalties for not complying? How do they verify their information? How often? What's the process? You think an offender is not complying? What should you do? Can they be around children? Click. There's nothing in Iowa offender law that prevents offenders from what other than restrictions mandated by 6928.113 exclusion zones and prohibition of certain employment-related activities. However, there's another code, child endangerment. A parent, guardian, a person having custody or control of a child or minor may be charged with child endangerment if they allow a sex registered offender to have custody or control over their children. Now, I'm glad we looking at this. It goes on to break down child endangerment. Okay? A person who is the parent, guardian, or person having custody or control over a child or minor under the age of 18 with a mental or physical disability, or a person who is a member of the household in which a child or such minor resides. They commit a child endangerment when the person does any of the following: knowingly allows a person custody or control of or unsupervised access to a child or minor after knowing the person is required to register or is on the offender registry. That qualifies all 3 of those women: the grandma, the mama, and the girlfriend, and none of them can tell me they didn't know that he was. They should have known. They could have looked his name up. He's been to jail for it, and he failed to register. They even have, can they use social media, websites, emails, internet chat, and stuff like that? Am I supposed to be notified? There are websites that you guys can go to be notified. Sign up for your area or any address you would like, and you will get notifications anytime someone who is registered is around there. Okay? They were not supposed to give him these children. so they can be held accountable. Okay? They can be held accountable for doing that. Why is the state not pursuing this? They are not even mentioning it. I'm not finished watching the whole trial, but they are not mentioning this in court. They're basically mum's the word about the boy saying he saw him shoot his sister. He happened to let it out when the defense was crossing him. So now, let's go back. Now, quarterly reviews. Okay, so there's nothing specific, just the basic information. Let's go back. His residency is restricted. For registrants with victims who were minors, where the offense is an aggravated offense against a minor, okay, are convicted of comparable offense in another jurisdiction, meaning any state, U.S. territory, or federally recognized Indian tribal nation. This offender shall not reside within 2,000 feet of a real property comprising a school or a child care facility. His girlfriend, Breaja's mom, and grandma need to be going to jail, and they need to be tried. They need to have charges against them, and they need to go to jail. Yes, they lost their daughter. Oh, they're suffering. Boo-hoo. You should watch the video I did that's not uploaded yet, really breaking this down. And the grandma, I didn't do her, but I did watch her testimony today. And you could tell nobody ever protected her. She told Breaja not to go because she wasn't supposed to. And she said when Henry walked out the door, he looked at Breaja and said, "Come on, let's go." She said she didn't call Breaja's mom and tell her about it because she didn't want to bother her at work. Okay? Then when she was asked, did the young boy, Breaja's brother, come to her and tell her that he saw Breaja get shot, she said she don't question her grandchildren about nothing. She let them come to her. So he's restricted. He has restriction on exclusion, restriction on residency, and restriction on employment. And basically, guys, that means where he can live, where he can be around, and work. Okay, all of these restrictions apply. If I click on another one and it says residency restriction, it's going to say the same thing. If you look at what does employment restriction is you cannot operate, manage, or be employed by or act as contractor or volunteer at any municipal, county, or state fair or carnival. So it's being specific about places that may have children around. You can't be there. Exclusion for zones. It even gets more specific. He has all of these on his roster. And they let that girl, listen, we need to start a petition for them to take those 3 women to trial. If y'all haven't watched this trial, check out my videos on it, because I'm highlighting not necessarily about him, more so how they handed her over on a silver platter and then walked away from her. Even in death, they walked away from her. Okay? This child would be alive if the grandmother and mother were about shit. This child would be alive if the girlfriend was about something. But I guess if all that was true, Henry wouldn't even been in none of their lives, right? I am convinced 100% that the girlfriend knows way more than she's saying. I believe she knows, and she was awake and aware and visual and audio of him taking that girl out of there. I am sure of it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Now, here's his convictions. It says convictions with multiple victims are listed once with each victim's information. Now, the links below display the current Iowa code, which may not have been the code in existence at the time of the conviction. They have an archive you can go to. So, they have one listed conviction in 1990. He was 17. It was in Scott County, and it was conviction 709,4, abuse and third degree. You know what first degree burns, second degree burns, and third degree burns are. Now, let's click on 709,4. We're about to get a PDF. The third degree, a person commits abuse in the third degree when a person performs an act under any of the following circumstances. The act is done by force against the will of the other person, whether or not the person is the person's spouse or cohabiting with the person. The act is between persons who are not at the time cohabiting as husband and wife, if any of the following is true. The other person is suffering from a mental defect or incapacity, which precludes giving consent. The other person is 14 or 15 years of age, and any of the following are true. The person is related to the other person by blood or affinity to the fourth degree to coerce. It's so small. The person is in position of authority over the other person and uses that authority to coerce the other person to submit. The person is 4 or more years older than the other person. The act is performed while the other person is under the influence of a controlled substance, which may include but is not limited to flunitrazepam? What is that? I will look it up, y'all, but I'm on the go. And all of the following are true. The controlled substance, which may be included but not limited to that fluazepam, whatever that is, prevents the other person from consenting. The person performing the act knows or reasonably should have known that the other person was under the influence of controlled substance, which may include, not limited to, flunitrazepam. I'm going to look that up. The act is performed while the other person is mentally incapacitated, physically incapacitated, or physically helpless. Abuse in the third degree is a Class C felony. We need a Class C felony at minimum for these 3 women. Can we get a petition started? I'll write it up. I don't know. Do you have to be in that state? Probably so. Iowa, where you at? Huh? Ain't no sympathy for these women. Have you watched the trial? They're more concerned about themselves. The mama and the grandma was flirting with that man in court. They was smiling and being cheeky, and I forget the word I'm looking for, but you'll see it on the video. No lies told. Henry and their mama was flirting in court. Where is that word at? Let me see if I can get it to open up real quick. Okay. I'm going to have to copy it and go like this. All right. So, it's also known as Ropanol, among other names. Benzodiazepine, used to treat severe insomnia and assist with anesthesia. Okay, basically it's a roofie, put you to sleep. As with other hypnotics, it has been advised to only be prescribed for short-term use by those with chronic insomnia on occasional basis, and your liver metabolizes this. What does it do to you? We already know. Sedative, hypnotic, anti-anxiety, and muscle relaxant effects. Street names: roofies, Roche a la Rocha, Mexican Valium, Forget Me Pills, Rope, and R2. Wow. Look at this one. Ecstasy, lysergic acid, diethylamide. Oh, LSD. Okay, ketamine and other party drugs. Wow. Okay, so apparently I still had y'all on pause, but I don't know if you were here when we went over this. This is basically a roofie drug. Okay? Those are the street names: Roche, La Rocha, Mexican Valium, Forget Me Pills, Rope, and R2. Okay? Muscle relaxing effects and sedative hypnotic type. And here are some recreationals used: ecstasy, LSD, ketamine, and other party drugs. Right? Tell me why, if you think, in the comment section, tell me why you may feel that the mother and grandmother and the girlfriend should not be convicted of child endangerment for allowing him to have access to these children. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. More specifically, them not knowing, I don't believe they didn't know. There's no way. If any of them said he didn't know, it's their responsibility as care over these children to find out. If you're dealing with a dude, you should know this. If you're going to allow this dude to have access to these children, you should know this. And you should protect those children. There's no excuse. There's no way that these people should not be convicted. Look at this meat sausage head. Nasty looking. What old girl call him? Pork chop? Ham hock or something like that. Sloppy, fat, nasty trash of a person. Monster. Monster. He did whatever he wanted to do to this little girl. And there's no way we'll know exactly what he did to her. Because her body, again, because people dropped the ball, her body stayed out there so long, over a year, that it completely decomposed. I'm willing to guarantee you that if an offender knows that he is going to eliminate completely his victim, he is going to fulfill any sick and twisted thoughts and desires that he has on this child. He met the mother when the baby was 2 months old. Ain't no telling how long he been lusting after this little girl. Now let me go back. This girl looked just like her mom. A more beautiful version, of course, but her mother is beautiful too now. But this little girl is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. There she goes. She looked just like her mom. If he was with the mother, can you, and this mama got listen, I don't feel sorry for her. I could, but I don't. Why don't I feel sorry for her? Because she should have protected her little girl. She should have looked up this guy before she allowed him to be around that little girl. And then to top it off, y'all, and make sure y'all ain't on pause, she got with him when her daughter was 2 months old. Whether he messed with her or not, I don't know. But if you're convicted of something so heinous and violent at your age of 17, then it ain't got about you. I don't care what nobody say. I do not think someone who has a thing for children are going to ever get over that, because that's some kind of sickness. Can't be healed. You cannot convince me otherwise. Not going to happen. However, the child seemed to be doing very well. Playing sports, athletic. She's showing her little muscles. I'm trying to find one of those athletic photos of her. And then he goes to prison again, and he manages to get his hands on her again. And violate and eliminate her. You could have kept her away from him. The grandmother for letting her go, but then the mom, instead of going to get her, she went over there to bring them clothing. And when she brought them clothing, she didn't even go inside. She had no idea what was going on inside that apartment, what it looked like, who was there around, was they partying, doing drugs. She didn't know none of that. Oh, they did a mural for her? None of that. Did y'all see this officer basically crying when they found her body? This mother, when she was first called to the house, well, she went by Henry, and the cop was meeting her there for the initial report. The cop asked her, is this where he lives? Is this the house? And she said, I guess so. This is where he told me to meet him at. You guess this is where your children were staying. Okay? You guess. Then they got into it. Her and Henry. Okay. I guess I accidentally clicked on one. And she said, F this, and walked away. Later in court, she claims that was because she was going to get on a hand and foot and go look for a child herself. They on a different side of town in a neighborhood that girl don't know nothing about. The cops would be more resourceful than she would. And she didn't say that. She just said F this and walked off. Okay? She's smiling at the man in court. And she testifying that she never thought that he would have hurt her. And in the beginning, she didn't think that he hurt this girl. One of the ways they identify her was by the shells in her hair. I wear shells in my locks too. All she had was hair, bones, bullets, and nails. This beautiful girl right here. The girlfriend, her dumb ass should have known he was an offender too. But she talks about how she don't never question him about where he go, what he do. And I'm not saying she should. I've said this in my other video. I'm not saying she should, but he has habits. He come and go as he please, all kind of times of the night. And she never, not once, say, you coming back, or, nothing. She says she never, ever questions him. And y'all think that little boy would have told when he was watching all the other adults around him never step to this dude, never question him? She said she woke up. Breasia wasn't there. Henry wasn't there. Henry came in to get something. She looked out the window when he walked out, and she saw the little girl downstairs standing by the car. And when he came back without the little girl, she still didn't question him, not one time. She also defended him. When y'all saw him doing his interrogation, she was down there fussing at the cops for acting like he's a suspect. Okay? That girlfriend knows way more than what she's saying. I do not believe her for 1 second. I do not believe for 1 second that she saw Breasia standing at that car door. But I do believe that she knew Breasia was in that car, because I do believe that in that small 1-bedroom apartment, she not only saw him lusting after her, because the brother did, she saw him carry her out into his car, and he knew she wasn't going to say nothing. The police came. She said the same thing everybody else said. Last night was the last time. I don't know what happened. Didn't want to let the cop in. Like she didn't know anything. Never once said that he took her away and he came back without her. And everybody walked away from Breasia when they walked away from that cop. The cop screaming, "What do you want me to do? If everybody's leaving, that's concerning the girl. What do y'all want me to do?" Then the only person he was left with was the girlfriend. She went back in the house to close the door. He like, "You not gonna come out here and help me look?" This man testified in court that he took it upon himself to get flyers made up. And him and his fellow officers had to go door to door asking and passing out flyers. And this creep, you best believe if there's a creep, that creep is always plotting for his golden opportunity. So he knew that neighborhood, they were going to be asleep at 3 a.m. So when the cops are knocking on the door, they didn't ping anybody who said, "Yeah, I saw him carry her out," or whatever. That woman, the girlfriend, testified that he thought she was asleep, but she wasn't asleep. She even at one point told him don't leave without his phone, but he didn't want to take his phone because he didn't want it to ping. He was already taking the battery out the phone so it wouldn't ping. The phone pinged him in the area because while he was out the car, the little boy took the phone and put the battery in so he could play a game. He took that boy with him while he disposed of her body. And he described how he disposed of his sister's body. He thought that this little boy was never going to speak about this. He knew the other women weren't going to never speak about this. I'm inclined to believe that the only reason why the girlfriend even told what little bit she know is because she watched the videos where he more than one time said she was just a friend and he don't really live there, and they just, they're not really together, and she's not really his girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. And allegedly they've been together 6 years. I wonder what else she allowed this guy to get away with that we don't know about. She knows when she testified in court that she saw him take her out of there. He not going to turn around and say, "Well, you saw more than that," because that would be telling on himself. So she knows she can say it and leave out certain things and just seem like, okay, I'm telling now. You don't get no cookie for that. She should be convicted right along with him. And from what I've seen from the mother and the grandma, they should be too, because legally this was child endangerment at best. The mother showing up on TV and all other videos handing out flyers, but come to find out, the police the ones set off them flyers. That video where the police walk up and she asking, "How can we get some more flyers printed up?" I found that to be odd. Why are you asking him? Huh? Talking about her friend ran out of ink. They didn't print no flyers. The cops printed those flyers. She asking him because she want them to get her some more flyers. She out here pump faking, crying. The very night said her daughter was dead because she already knew that dude did it, but she didn't yell that from the top of her lungs. I know he did it. Nobody said anything about this dude being a registered offender until one of the news stations covering it announced it. Nobody, while questioning or cross-examining any of the women involved, said, did you know he was a registered offender and he shouldn't be around children? Something about this ain't right, y'all. When they're doing their arguments and closing arguments, that's when they said they believe he R-worded her. But they never speculated as to how they came to that conclusion. Now, us being naive, we would think, yeah, he had to, because why else was he going to take her and then kill her? But little do we know, what they know is he was in jail most of the time they were looking for her because he was registered. I'm sorry, he was convicted and he failed to update his registry. So they knew why they said he probably R-worded her. Well, they said he did. They know he did. Because that's what's in him. That's who he is. But they never stated that in court. It's absolutely, completely relative. And it also means that they have an obligation to charge the girlfriend, the mother, and the grandmother. You think the state gonna care on its own? You think the state does not sit here and watch them and look and see where they failed this girl at? The testimony, the way they're behaving towards this guy in court. The son didn't look at him like that, though. The way he looked at him, that look had 1,000 words to it. He put that boy through that, put his sister through that, and then told him to tell a lie and say that he last saw his sister at 9:30 last night. There's so much more that all of them are not saying. That boy said he felt his sister kick him in the middle of the night, or whatever time while he was asleep. And she's never done that before. How do y'all think this played out? You think Henry grabbed her? She tried to get her brother to wake up. He told her, go to sleep. Told the girl, be quiet. Let's go. Do you think they had the instilling in them, never let them take you to another location? Never let nobody separate you from your sister? I don't think so. But the boy did not feel comfortable going by himself. He don't know him. He ain't been around him. That's a different place. He ain't never been. Him and his sister close in age and they tight. He felt comfortable with his sister. That's exactly what he said. Then he said he cried because he woke up and his sister was not there. So now he's concerned about his safety, while also being concerned about his sister. So imagine this dude come in and he take you with him while he go out there and he disposes of this little girl. And the son tells you that they went to the pond. And he lied, said he was going to be fishing, but he left the boy in the car. He saw him get the machete. He saw him clean the blood off the machete. He saw him put the machete in his RV. He saw him with the gun. He saw him shoot his sister with the gun. All of that evidence was collected. So he was telling the truth about that. But the defense uses the fact that nobody was speaking up at that time to try and make it seem like the little boy, the young man, was not telling the truth. This dude tried to get a different attorney several times. He got his attorneys changed. I broke that down in my video. And he did not want to work with this attorney, and he claimed he was going to try to represent himself if he didn't get another attorney. And being that he ain't coming out his pocket for nothing, the judge told him the attorney is doing his job. He's a good attorney. You're not communicating with him. I'm going to need you to participate. You're not representing yourself. Then he wants a bench trial, which I think is a big mistake on his behalf. Being that her body, because they got too much evidence on this dude, but being that her body had decomposed so much so, a jury would leave too many brains in there that are not legal experts to try and say, oh, well, it's not shot over doubt and all this other dumb stuff. That judge know exactly what he looking at and listening to. This dude better not never see the light of day again. This is one case that we must stay on. You know how we hear about these cases and then they kind of fade off, and we may follow it to a conviction, or some of them they just come out so fast that we don't never get to see the trial or hear the trial or know what happened. Did the dude go to prison? Whatever. If he's up for parole, any of that, the whole state of Iowa need to be on it. And I do not understand if you guys don't press for those 3 women to be charged. They're damaged goods. We don't need them. In this day and age, they should have learned better and took it upon themselves to become a better person and get away from those old ways. It's common sense to protect children. It's common sense to protect a little girl from an offender. Regardless of whether anybody protected you or not. It's common sense. We all know better now. If anybody didn't know better back then about anything, especially something like this, you know better now. It's social media. There's nothing not talked about and explained, broken down. Self-help, relationship gurus, and online psychologists, and just people just saying this ain't right, do this, do that, talk, stand up, say something. Too many people come out publicly. We know you can have a voice and you need to be protected, and you should protect. We know this. There is nothing that can excuse them from handing this girl over. Even when they asked them, the mother and the grandmother, did they talk to the little boy and see if he knows anything more, they both said they didn't talk to him. The grandma said she don't ask her grandchildren nothing. She wait for them to come to her. That may sound like a certain type of parenting, helicopter, or whatever you want to call it. I don't care, because children are always going to know it's okay to talk to you, especially if they've been threatened or it's something serious. You got to periodically check in with them and let them know that they can talk to you and ask them you got to probe sometimes. Ain't no way they shouldn't have been checking with this boy to see and find out what more. But they didn't want to know because they didn't want to admit to themselves that where they messed up at. The mama said she didn't talk to him about it because the officers told them that it was their job to do that. Don't question him. And I don't doubt that they said it. Especially if she said it in court. I don't doubt that they said it. That don't mean she had to listen. That's her daughter. Her son. You are their first advocate. So if the cops talk to him and you're not there, who knows what they'll try to get out of him, make him say, or pin him up against. So there you have it, guys. He was an offender. So where we at with this now? Because we definitely know that they gave this girl to an offender. We know that for sure, 100%. Now, I don't have nothing to say when y'all talk about the grandma bra and everything else. At all. But even more so, we need them on trial too.